Hello everyone, it's Jin'taan here, and it's time to take a look at the latest patch notes. This time going over the Warhead upgrades release, which came out on January the 16th, 2020, and is the first patch of the Fight or Flight quadrant, and also the first major patch of 2020. The first section to the patch is balancing, and begins with a heavy missile buff, which is a 5% bonus to both raw damage and the explosion velocity of all heavy missiles. The micro warp drive that Sirens previously had been equipped with has been replaced with an afterburner, meaning that the Tech 1 Siren now has an upper limit of a 200% speed boost, and a Tech 2 Siren now has an upper limit of a 250% speed boost. The tier side of shield boosters has also begun, with them replacing the 5 meta levels of shield boosters that previously existed in the game with just 3, going to just purely a Tech 1 base module, a compact version which is easier to fit, and an enduring version which uses less capacitor. All existing meta shield boosters will be converted into this new format, and all market orders for the affected modules will be removed, and the modules and escrow will be returned to the character that created the order. If you would like details on what specific meta modules are being transformed into the new tier-sided modules, please check the patch notes themselves, as I'm not going to read out everything in its entirety. Alongside this, there were also a small amount of fitting buffs applied to the storyline shield booster modules. The next section is Corporations and Alliances, which contains only a single change, which is the addition of an option to allow corporations to restrict the sending of mails to the corporation to members with the Communications Officer role, as well as directors and the CEO. This will hopefully reduce the amount of corp mail spam that we see in larger new player organizations. Following this, we get to the implants section, which details the addition of the new Nirvana Shield Slave implants, which are initially available through the new Dragonor Blitz PvE event. Both high-grade and mid-grade Nirvanas will be available, and their stats are effectively identical to the Amulet set, which are previously known as Slaves, which provide a bonus to armor HP. That means that if you use a full set of high-grade Nirvanas, you will gain an additional 53.63% shield HP. Low-grade Nirvana implants will become available in the future. Next, in the marketing section, the Turrets and Bays market group has been renamed to Turrets and Launchers to better reflect the modern terminology used for missile launchers. Alongside this, the opacity for the colouring of market orders has been increased. Following this, we have a series of small changes to the overview. Sorting by tag in ascending order now begins with the tagged items rather than untagged items. Column sort order is now preserved by the overview tab rather than being global for the whole overview. And following up from the default overview changes in the previous release, the default arrangement of states has been rearranged in order to better reflect the priorities pilots have when they have joined a player corporation. So many social states, in my corp, alliance, in my militia, in my fleet, at war with my group, are now displayed above legal states, such as criminal or suspect. Legal states will still be shown before corporation associations for pilots in your NPC corporation. And these changes will only apply to characters with their overview settings set to the default. Following this, in the technical section, the various holiday filaments that had allowed players to travel to random nullsec systems have been decommissioned and turned into regular calm abyssal filaments. The Yule crates, which previously contained these filaments, now contain calm abyssal filaments instead. In the user interface section, capsuleers that have been transferred between player accounts, so characters which have been sold, now list the dates of transfer but no further information in their employment history. And this replaces the requirement to notify your corporation when selling a character, but you still will have to drop to an NPC corporation. And when this change occurs, all character transfers from 2007 onwards will be listed. Finally, under the heading Limited Time Events, the Dragonor staging facility locations can now be discovered throughout low-sec space for a limited time, and these locations allow access only to a specific and limited selection of capsuleer ships. specifically Tech 1, Faction, and Tech 2 ships that have bonuses to the use of heavy missiles, which means the Bellicose, Caracal Navy issue, Healer, Orthrus, Osprey Navy issue, Scythe Fleet issue, Cerberus, Sacrilege, Vangal, Enforcer, Rapier, Chameleon, Rook, Onyx, Cyclone, Drake Navy issue, Gnosis, Claymore, Nighthawk, Damnation, Barghest, Praxis, Rattlesnake, Raven State issue, Scorpion Navy issue, Typhoon Fleet issue, Marshal, Widow, and Golem. And these sites contain valuable loot, including blueprint copies for the new Nirvana implant set. And that wraps up the meat of the patch in the features and changes section. And I know from looking at my YouTube analytics that only about 20% of you will then watch onwards and listen to the defect fixes. So what I'm going to experiment with in this video is just not doing them at all, just to see if a smaller, more bite-sized video is more appealing to the audience. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear the bug fixes and the full length of the patch notes. I'm very happy to continue doing it, just wanted to experiment with something a little different. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and as always, fly smart.